4 years of the Trump administration have forced us to learn some very unusual expressions. Perfect phone call.
Just a perfect conversation.
MAGA. Build the wall. Very stable genius. And for his final act, President Donald Trump has given us yet another new concept, the preemptive pardon. That means pardoning someone for a crime they haven't yet been charged with, or maybe they haven't even committed yet. It takes advantage of the fact that presidential pardons, as authorized in the Constitution, are very broadly defined and very sweeping in nature. They allow the president to pardon anyone for any real or imagined crime, even if no sentence has been issued and no charges have been laid. They get you off the hook for, well, whatever you may have done. There's talk of Trump issuing such a pardon to his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, or to his children, Eric, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Ivanka's husband, Jared Kushner, presumably for crimes related to the web of conflicts of interest around their business and political worlds and their questionable tax practices. Or even to himself. A self-pardon was the subject of another video I made on this subject in 2017. When he talks about the pardon power, it's pretty clear he's talking about people in his own office. The preemptive pardon sounds too good to be true. It's the sort of thing that might have sounded like a good idea when you were 10 years old. It also sounds a bit like the medieval practice of papal indulgences, where the Pope forgives you any sins you may have committed, keeps you out of hell, as long as you give him a sizable donation. It sounds even more like the get-out-of-jail-free card in Monopoly. Actual cases of preemptive pardons are historically rare, and for a good reason. If the President of the United States is pardoning you for something, it probably means you've done something very bad. In fact, there's a U.S. Supreme Court ruling from 1915, known as Burdick versus United States, which says that receiving a presidential pardon is a de facto imputation of guilt, and accepting such a pardon is effectively a confession. That's why some more upstanding citizens ask the president not to give them a pardon. So far, Mr. Trump has used his pardon power a couple dozen times, notably to bail out a lot of people who've been vocal supporters of him, all of them unquestionably guilty of serious, pre-existing crimes. The president's pardon may have spared those people further punishment, but it means they'll forever be notorious for those crimes. The preemptive pardon is a whole different animal. If he issues one, we may never know what crimes exactly it's meant to be excusing. The one historical example of a preemptive pardon that often gets mentioned is President Gerald Ford's pardon of his predecessor, Richard Nixon, on September 8, 1974, a few weeks after Nixon stepped down in order to avoid a certain impeachment for his Watergate crimes. President Ford issued what he called a full, free, and absolute pardon of Nixon for anything Nixon might have done. At first, he tried to get Nixon to write a confession. Nixon refused, and Ford issued the pardon anyway. He said he did it to clear the air of the stench of Watergate to allow his party and the nation to move on. But remember that Supreme Court ruling that says that receiving and accepting a pardon is a confession of guilt? Well, Gerald Ford carried a copy of that Supreme Court ruling in his wallet for the rest of his life. You could say that the preemptive pardon made them both guilty in a way. It's a lesson for any president who wants to use the pardon power this way. It might get you out of jail, but history will remember it as that time you confessed to a major crime.